Do we have to do anything electronically or whatever? Tell them all right. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. My name is Dave Jones. I am the chairman of the Town of Hingham Cable Advisory Committee, which they're up here. This is a public hearing to identify the town's cable-related needs as part of the town's Verizon cable license renewal process. The Board of Selectmen is the cable license issuing authority pursuant to the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 166A, Section 1, and the Board of Selectmen has delegated the holding of this cable renewal hearing to its Cable Television Advisory Committee. Verizon's cable television license in Hingham is due to expire on April 21st, 2018. The federal law which governs cable television requires the town to engage in license renewal proceedings, including the holding of this public ascertainment meeting. Ultimately, these proceedings will result in either a renewal of Verizon's license or a denial of such renewal. At this hearing, we will receive comments and testimony from the general public about what cable-related needs and interests are important to the public. Second, we also will accept information and comments concerning how well Verizon has performed under its existing license. We ask, if possible, for you to address your testimony to these issues of Verizon's past and current performance and community needs and interests. Members of the committee and other attendees may also have questions or comments. We ask that you keep your comments no longer than 3 minutes. Before receiving testimony from the public, Verizon's representative will have an opportunity to introduce herself and discuss its cable operations in Hingham. Before proceeding, we also note that as part of the hearing and ascertainment, we want to hear generally about Verizon's commitment to community programming and public, educational and governmental access, and to maintaining support for the town's institutional network, including video return lines and related technology, which are important parts of the existing cable services and facilities that have been supported by the cable licensees serving Hingham. We want Verizon, as a possible provider in Hingham, to be aware of and attentive to the importance of local Hingham cable-related and PEG access facilities and their role at the forefront of meeting many public, town, and school cable needs. Any questions to Verizon should be directed through me, and I will rule whether they are in order. That'll be interesting. Before testifying, please state your name and address. We note for the record the process of ascertainment of community cable needs and interests will remain open until further notice. Before commencing, I want to take care of one procedural matter regarding the legal advertisement of tonight's public hearing. I hereby enter a copy of the legal advertisement published on February 4th, February 11th, and February 18th in the Hingham Journal into the hearing record as a public hearing exhibit. Now let's turn to Verizon's representative, who I believe is Jill Reddish, for introductory comments. Is Jill here? Jill is not here, so we will not do Verizon's bit. Moving right along, we will. I'd like to introduce to you.
You want to just
ask
if anyone else is here from Verizon?
Anyone else here from Verizon? Yes, no? No. Okay. Eric is the executive director of HCAM, and you have the floor. And you got 3 minutes.
Well, first off, for anybody who was expecting to see somebody here from Verizon, as you've heard, don't worry, this is being filmed and I'm told also transcribed, so your comments will be part of the formative things that are given to the Cable Advisory Committee as they move forward in trying to negotiate this next license.
Can I add one procedural point?
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Bill August, Cable Counsel to the town. We will, in addition to having the videotape transcribed to make a record of the comments, write up the comments about the needs of the town, and after the Cable Advisory Committee and the Board of Selectmen as the licensing authority approve the the comments and findings. We will transmit those comments and findings to Verizon. So although it may be a little disappointing to not have Verizon here to hear about our needs, it will be written up in a report that will go to Verizon, known as an Ascertainment report down the road. So it's very meaningful in terms of the communication in writing to Verizon. It makes a big difference in terms of how Verizon reacts to the town when they see a write-up of public testimony and comments about needs of the town, many different kinds of needs.
All right, so anyway, thank you again. I'm Eric Dresser, the Executive Director of Hingham Community Access and Media. And I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight, spending the time to sit here tonight with us and to speak on HCAM's behalf and on the behalf of community media in Hingham and, to be honest, right in the country. It's a very important asset, and I'm so pleased to have everybody here advocating for it. I'm really proud of the impact that we've had here in our community, and seeing everybody here just helps to reinforce that. For me, I started here in 2011 with HCAM. I was HCAM's first and only employee. And since that time, was starting in the facilities up on the 3rd floor in a room 8 feet by 12 feet, we have expanded in facility size, in staff size, and in service scope. When we were established, we were a public-only channel, and that was all that we did until the selectmen asked us in, I believe, March of 2012 to take on the management of the government operations. When we, took over the programming of that, we had more to do with the selectmen's meetings like this, planning board, zoning board, school committee, all sorts of meetings. We all caught a lot of that either on our channels or on our online media as well. We did a lot of the improvements you've seen down here, such as AV presentation space. We got a TV in the back half of this room so everybody can take it in here. There's 2 additional robotic rooms in this building that we can use to broadcast from, which has really added to the variety of programming that we can have for our government. In 2013, the following year, the town asked us to pitch in with the educational access here in town. The year after that, we expanded even further, creating a new educational access partnership that has, around that time, we moved all 3 of our channels to operate here out of Town Hall. Verizon came with us and helped us consolidate all of our programming to this building and was very helpful in that matter. But our educational access partnership has been not just a tremendous success here in town, but actually a model, at least in our region of the Northeast. It has been discussed at the Alliance for Community Media's recent Northeast Conference in Hartford, Connecticut, and it's even been a model duplicated and, taken on by other communities. So we've done a lot in that area. And in 5 years in general, we've grown tremendously. We've been able to have a significant impact in Hingham, not just providing access to local content and platforms, but also training in media literacy and media production, providing assistance in community productions, and providing coverage of all sorts of community events. With our relatively late start in 2011, we were initially concerned that some of our neighbors who'd been doing this for longer would have a lot more momentum than us, and we'd be coming out at a time that we'd be competing with these new platforms to publish to, YouTube, Vimeo, all sorts of other places that local producers can post their content. Well, I'm happy to say that our unique, diverse, and effective approaches have really been enough to make a significant impact here in Hingham. So we've accomplished a lot, but we're far from done. While we've made wonderful progress in a very short time, the changing media landscape, potentially declining cable revenues, and these things have all helped to shape the fact that we need to adapt and improvise and create solutions in order to overcome these challenges. In the years ahead, we're looking forward to continued expansion, but in our way, we've got some hurdles that we have to figure out. To summarize these hurdles, they really come down to the ability to broadcast in high definition or some otherwise parallel platform that is going to be the same as people are used to watching on their other channels. If they're flipping around watching their news, their sports, their reality TV in high definition, so too should the local viewers. We should have channel assignments that are proximate to other programming that our viewers are watching. If they're watching primarily in the 500s, we'd like to be close to that, not down 500 channels away in the single digits, double digits. We'd like to have on-screen programming information and programming guide. If our viewers are looking for our content and they're looking on the guide and they can't see what's playing and they can't see to set it in their DVR, that's not matching their viewership habits, and we need to get on top of that. As somebody that grew up here in Hingham and went through Hingham Public Schools and the TV production program, I'm extremely proud to see what we've been able to accomplish in this amount of time. In just the 5 years that we've been doing this, we've been able to make a significant impact to not just the Hingham viewers, but many Hingham individuals and community organizations. This is because of the services we're providing, including equipment, training, and platforms for people to get their messages out and help and further their mission or their goals of what they're trying to communicate. In the years ahead, and based off of your negotiations, I look forward to continued development where we can consistently provide dynamic, professional content on par with any other regional or national syndicate. Thank you. Oh, and I have annual reports from 2012 through 2015 that we'll be entering into the report,
We're gonna put that in the,
into part of the record. So give
Right.
this to you now, or?
yeah, give it to us. Give it to us. I'll take it. Thanks. All right, next
All
up I
right, so
have,
let's enter this as a ascertainment hearing exhibit,
Right.
and then we'll more formally number them and compile them later
And
on.
Put in the thing,
Okay, so will you want to hold on to
Yeah,
this
hold on
and
to it.
get copies to
Yep,
us?
yep.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, I have Jamie Murphy, our state representative. Welcome, Jamie. Thanks for coming.
Good evening. I am actually Mary Jordan Roy. I am
All right.
President Murphy's chief of staff. We did have a formal session in Boston today, and he got hung up with other things
Okay.
in Boston, so he's asked me to come down on his behalf. I do have written testimony that I'd like to submit.
Sure.
I will paraphrase from
That would be great.
the letter.
That'd be great.
I am writing in support of the Hingham Community Access and Media, HCAM, and the future funding for HCAM, its education and nonprofit programs. The protection of community media is crucial to all Hingham residents and should therefore be renegotiated with our cable company franchise. Community access television is a leading media outlet that will connect constituents to the state legislature and allows me to inform the community of the continuous efforts made by my office as well as other state offices on the community level. Removing this important resource could have a negative effect on the community. Hingham Community Access TV was instrumental in increasing awareness of pressing issues in the South Shore, one being a backed river link trail where members from HCAM did come and film it. It's an ongoing project that the area legislature is trying to move forward, as well as information regarding the proposed compressor station down in Weymouth and other legislative matters. His recent backing of House Bill 2847, an act to support community access television, reiterates his belief that public access television is an integrated contributor to the community's fabric. Many of the 200 community media centers in Massachusetts are operated by nonprofit organizations. Residents are able to keep in touch with their local government by viewing selectmen meetings, school committee meetings, zoning meetings, as well as other commissions. The elimination of HCAM would have a widespread negative impact. I am hopeful that the renegotiation process will be successful and enhanced through the inclusion of the following items: HD channels, program information and guide inclusion, and proximate channel assignments. I am confident that my office will continue to broadcast from HCAM in the future and providing constituents with virtual knowledge, and he urges his support for the renegotiation process for HCAM. Sincerely submitted, Representative James Murphy, Hingham and Weymouth.
Thanks.
And here's a copy of it.
We got a copy. Thanks.
Can you repeat your name just so we get?
My name is Mary Jordan Roy.
Okay,
Chief of
thanks,
Staff
Mary.
for Representative Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, next on my list, I have Dot Galo. Dot, welcome.
I do have a written statement, and Bill has a copy of that, and some others that I brought along with me as well, and he will share those with you. So I'm here also to urge a strong and aggressive renegotiation with Verizon. Eric mentioned the word asset, and I think that we all here, at least, and many at home, would agree that community access television is a brand-new asset, at least in the lifespan like mine. It's a brand-new asset that really benefits this town and that we have come to count on and that we are very proud of. So I speak as two people tonight. First of all, as a longtime citizen of Hingham, a 77-year citizen of Hingham, I've appreciated the growing number of public meetings and events that are provided for viewers like me who have been interested, it seems, forever in wanting to maintain a high level of awareness about community issues and events and to be able to keep informed about the details of the public decision-making that impacts us all. And I've always enjoyed particularly the offerings of the public channel, as they have often highlighted what is very unique and very special about this town that we all love. But more to the point tonight, as the superintendent of the Hingham Public Schools, I've appreciated the Cable Advisory Committee's support of the educational mission for our public schools, and thank you all for that. And that is such as through support for equipment and staffing that enable our TV production classes that we offer at the secondary level. And as well, we have welcomed HCAM's provision for training the youth of our town and citizens of all ages in the use of the cameras and the equipment, and in the assignment of the staffing that we have through our partnership agreement to the school department. The latter resource both enhances the organization's production capability and contributes to the breadth of programming that bring school activities and events and general school awareness and program offerings to parents and citizens at large. I've used HCAM resources personally to generate a series of interview format episodes called the Superintendent Spotlight over the last 2 years. As well, my teaching and paraeducator staff benefited from the availability of taped presentations of conferences and workshops that we have hosted that now have become, through the tapes, available for viewing over and over and have become part of our very vibrant professional development library. HCAM's tapings and the live broadcasts of special events, including things like graduation, the annual fall school convocation, town meeting, and individual building celebrations and recognition ceremonies that happen every day in our schools, in all 6 of the schools. And that has broadened the viewing of such important and significant events in our community to a wider audience than would otherwise be possible in person. And in fact, we know, and you all have the data on this, I'm sure, that some of the YouTube videos have been shown to thousands and thousands and thousands of people across the world. I've been impressed with the committed work and the strong leadership of the Cable Advisory Committee on behalf of the town and all of us. I have enjoyed a positive and productive and professional relationship with the Hingham Community Access Media staff, and that's at all levels of the organization, from Eric to the various people who do taping of our school committee meetings, for example. I've found the HCAM employees to be proactive, to be helpful and resourceful, and in addition, they offer creative ideas and have solid programming, problem-solving skills that help to facilitate and enhance the kinds of programs that we in the schools may want to initiate ourselves. So in summary, we in the public schools are appreciative of what the Cable Advisory Committee and HCAM have accomplished in our behalf. Staff, students, and parents are particularly vocal in praising the program that highlights both the day-to-day school life and also the special events in our district. Clearly, we look forward to the continuation of a strong and productive relationship between the schools and HCAM and the Cable Advisory Committee. That will be enhanced by the success of the upcoming negotiations. And we, as other speakers have mentioned, are especially interested in the possibility of the HD channels as part of the next level of services for Hingham citizens. And as well, the availability of more informative program guides will maximize viewer access to what already is a strong listing and growing each day, strong listing of programming options. So we welcome and encourage your support in moving what is now a quality town resource and asset to the next level. I also want to thank you for your interest in citizen comments, and I know that it is part of the formal process. Nevertheless, you're very welcoming, and I especially appreciate that. And I will look forward with interest to hearing about the results and the process as you move forward in this fairly lengthy process. But thank you all for what you do on our behalf, and thank you to Eric and his HCAM crew. We are happy customers.
Next, I have Ray Estes, Hingham School Committee and Chair of School Building. Is Ray here? Ray? No. No. All right. Moving on, Glenda, you're up. Glenda Garland is the Hingham High School librarian and TV production teacher.
Hi, as mentioned, I'm Glenda Garland. I live at 19 Autumn Circle. I'm going to speak about the value to teaching that having a TV studio in a school gives our students. This is my third year teaching television production at Hingham High School. Television production is an elective, and it's open to all years. So freshmen, sophomores, and juniors and seniors can all be in the same class together. And this ability to create in a collaborative, project-based form is one of the ideal ways that we develop in what we call education 21st century skills. The kinds of skills that students need really to be up to snuff in today's workforce. So I'm just amazed to see students get inspired in the studio. I'm inspired to see them, in turn, discover things about themselves that they didn't know that they had within them. And it's important to discover things in other people that they didn't think were there. I could go on and on about that, and I won't, because we're pressed for time. But students in our program start learning the basics of camera work and computer editing, and then they can progress to making a weekly show. That show airs school-wide. It's called The Friday Show, and we use it for a variety of different forums. It was traditionally just to entertain, and now we're using it as a forum to discuss all sorts of different issues, and also to promote clubs and sports and activities. There is a short video about this that will be linked to the HCAM website homepage. I doubt that we could run these sorts of programs without the support that we've had from the Cable Advisory Committee. We have it to thank for just a recent upgrade to all sorts of new iMacs that we can use to do our video editing, and countless other pieces of equipment we owe to them as well. In addition to equipment, funds have been taken, the funds that they provide have taken some of the burden of programming on the education channel from just the staff at Hingham High School. It used to be our sole responsibility to do that. Now, although we still contribute some programming, like, say the Friday Show and other things, HCAM has a full-time staffer dedicated to collecting educational programming. And as a result, the education channel has been able to grow and spotlight stuff all from all 6 schools in town. They're gathering all sorts of programs. That's a much wider glimpse into what we do in Hingham Public Schools. It's more informative for the town. It's a heck of a lot more fun too, because they can see all those little wonderful, elementary school events and not just the high school events. And it's a more of an archival record. And as a person who also works in the high school library, that's a wonderful thing for us to have as well. And then again, it gives us time as teachers to really funnel our time and attention into teaching students. I'm going to be introducing 2 of my students next who are going to come up and speak about their experiences in this program. But I also want to thank you guys so much for your time and attention tonight, for coming out, and thank you to you all.
Thanks, Glenda. And now we hear from the students. Okay.
Hello, my name is Patrick Scofield. I live at 36 Hemlock Road. I'm 18 years old and I'm a senior at Hingham High School. Recently I was accepted to and will be attending the Wentworth Institute of Technology. I'm going to be majoring in information science with a minor in computer networking. Without the amount of technology I've been allowed to use at the high school, I don't believe I would be in the same position that I'm in today. I started television production freshman year. It opened my eyes to the world of television and the things that you do in order to make that accomplished. I didn't really know kind of like anything about it before I started, but I've had 3 different television production teachers, Mrs. Garland, Mrs. Gallagher, who was a librarian at the school, and also I forget her name. Mrs. Dunphy, who is now at the middle school, I believe. I believe it was either my freshman or sophomore year, Katie Geiger came to the high school and told us about HCAM. She told us how everything they do there, and she offered us internships. And I initially thought, great, a nice little side cash thing. And then they're like, oh, actually, it's student credit, but whatever. So I did the HCAM internship for, I believe it was half a year, and I can arguably say that's the best experience I have ever had with Hingham. It helped me immensely when it came to learning how to work with such a big team and learning the way that a cable company operates. It really, truly hooked my interests into television production more so than the TVP class. I've taken TVP in high school 3 out of my 4 years there. I've made many good friends, including Brian Beals, and I wouldn't substitute the things I learned at HCAM and in the TVP classes at the high school for anything. The level of technology that we have in the television production class and the high school in general is growing every week, and it truly makes me excited beyond belief to see what comes in the next couple of years. The lessons and skills that I've learned and acquired respectively have shaped the person that I have become today, and I would like to thank HCAM and everyone involved for the opportunities that have been given thus far. Thank you.
Next up, Brian.
Hello, I'm Brian Beals. I live on 11 Stonegate Lane. I'm a senior at Hingham High and will be attending Wentworth Institute of Technology next year to study computer engineering. I took TVP my first semester of junior year, and I've liked it so much that I stayed in it until this semester. I'm now in TVP 4 and a teaching assistant for Mrs. Garland in one of the TVP 1 classes. I had little to no prior knowledge on how to film and edit video before becoming involved with this program. I have learned, what I've learned I've been able to apply to other classes such as film studies, which is my current English class, and just yesterday I finished up a video for the language department that was used to show 8th grade students and their parents what the Latin program has to offer them. I've served the school in similar ways to this a countless number of times, from promoting drama productions to making an ADL public service announcement for our weekly show. Earlier today, when trying to figure out what I was going to say tonight, I asked my classmates what they enjoy about TVP. One of my classmates, Lulu Wiley, she said that she's an artist and the TV production class allows her to express herself in ways that paint and pictures can't capture. And if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then what's a video worth? So high school is all about shaping yourself for the future, and if TVP helps even one person discover who they are, then isn't it worth all the money spent?
Thanks, Brian. And Tom Hoffman. Moving into the sports section.
Good evening, Tom Hoffman, 3 Sherman Way. I don't have a prepared speech. I talk from the heart, looking at sky. I haven't seen sky in a while. I've been involved in three organizations, still involved in 2 of them, Hingham Sports Partnership, Hingham Youth Football, and the 2-year-old South Shore Special Needs Athletic Partnership. So I am a huge fan of HCAM. I don't want to pile on here using a football euphemism, but they have been such great supporters of the 3 organizations. Giving you a few examples, when it was time to do PSAs, we filmed a PSA at the studio Phil and Eric were very helpful, and we put a PSA together to encourage kids and their parents to look at participating in Hingham Youth Football. We were able to take that video and not only show it on cable access, but again, they've been talking about YouTube. Fantastic. We came up with an idea recently. You probably read about him in the paper, but Sam Benger here from Hingham is, I believe, I'm lost track. He's a sophomore at Carnegie Mellon University. He is a kid that has to deal with diabetes, and yet led the nation, was the leading rusher, small college football, Division III in the United States this year, and Phil did a great piece on Sam. We've taken that, we've pushed it up in the Hingham Youth Football website. Why? Because the guy's a great role model for the kids, and it's out on YouTube. So, tremendous. Several years ago, we started a program called the Murph Event in honor of Michael Murphy, the Navy SEAL, who was a recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor for, he was killed in action in Afghanistan trying to save his platoon. And we had a public service announcement done with Gabriel Gomez, the retired Navy SEAL, came over to the studios and we did a piece on this Murph event, and then they did a great piece on, Hingham Happenings, and did that piece and filmed it, and they've been there the last 2 years. So that benefited local veterans as well as the New England Center for Homeless Vets. Again, thumbs up to HCAM on that. One other thing, the event they covered, as you've probably read about, is a Special Needs Athletic Partnership, which is just growing leaps and bounds. And of course, we have to do fundraising. One of the things we do is the Pizza Palooza. We're going to do it again on March 16th this year at the high school. HCAM's been great covering that and promoting that, bringing the community together. The last thing I want to talk about, you saw two students come up, and I had the great privilege, I call him Big Daddy, but I had the great privilege of coaching Big Daddy when he was back in middle school. I think it's so great that you're an example of a kid that got excited about learning about television and producing. And I wanted to note that how we brought that over to football. The kid that lives across the street from us, Ellis Boyd, wasn't a football player, but he was really into film. And he got involved with HCAM and started bragging to me about how great it was, and he's producing all this stuff. Well, the light bulb went on. They said, you know what? We are losing the company that does our filming of our youth games. And we worked it out, and HCAM did the training, and Ellis was one of the first guys trained to film the football games. It was great for him to learn what to do and at the same time to get paid, which is important. So now we've created jobs for 2 high school students to film our games, and Ellis right now is a freshman film major at Ithaca College. Now I'm watching the next kid come up, got to throw his name out, Patrick Rizzo. He's an 8th grader, following these guys' footsteps. Does he have a bed there down at the studio yet? Because he's there all the time. So these guys are making an impact. Thank you for listening. I'm a big proponent of HCAM.
Thanks, Tom. Rick Linehan, Hingham Sports Partnership? No? Nope. All right, moving right along. Andrew Rubino, another high school student? Nope. All right. Michael Page. All right.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I, too, am very excited to see the high school students because, as you said, I'm Michael Page, 12 Beach Lane, and I was a Hingham High School student, and now I'm actually a professional who's in local TV news getting paid to do the things that I did with HCAM many years ago. So it goes to show you that not only can you do it, have fun in high school, use it to get into college, but actually be fairly successful and be a professional. So I was actually very early involved in HCAM, number 1, apparently, in line. And I was interested for a long time in getting into television, local news specifically. And there aren't a lot of opportunities to showcase and create your own news. You need expensive equipment for that to happen, and I certainly don't have a TV studio in my house. My parents didn't craft one for me, as supportive as they were. So when I heard HCAM was there with brand new cameras, tripods, and of course a wealth of knowledge, I was right in line, and there I was, creating my own news stories across the South Shore. Hornster Farm in Hingham, did a story with them way back when, some lobster fishermen as well, and the impact of the weather. I was a meteorology major in college while this was happening, by the way. And those stories basically propelled me to get more airtime in college and they appeared on my professional demo reel to get a job in TV news. And if you know anything about TV news, your resume means absolutely nothing. Your demo reel means everything. So to have that real world, high quality production value on my resume reel was huge. And my first job in Burlington, Vermont was not only as a meteorologist on the weekend, but also as a reporter 3 days a week. So they expected me to go out with my own gear and shoot news stories in one day like any other reporter. And I had no formal training because I was a meteorologist. I was in physics and calculus. So fortunately, the equipment I used in Hingham at HCAM and the training I got on how to use the cameras efficiently basically had me street ready with just 1 day of professional training in Burlington, Vermont. And after 2 short years in Vermont, now I'm back here in Hingham, working at a TV station here, which is tremendous. And I still get to benefit from HCAM because I come back and I speak to a lot of the elementary schools, and those are filmed and rebroadcast on HCAM, and I am shocked at how many people come up to me and say that they listened to my presentation to the third graders at East School. Sometimes I wonder if more people are watching HCAM or my actual TV station, either way. So that's, of course, good news. And my final thought here will just be kind of a closing argument for cable in general. Working for a local news station that's broadcast over cable, of course, HCAM is predicated on cable. I still contend that people spend the money on cable for local content. Of course, they want your ESPN and everything else, but there's local content that is just so easy to get with cable, whether that's your local news or things like HCAM where you can watch these meetings back if you miss it. That's something you don't get otherwise. Sure, you can go online, but think of what segment of the population doesn't have the time to go hunt around for where these videos live. So HCAM and cable access in general is critical to all of those things. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for HCAM for getting me here. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Laura. Laura Burns, HCAM board and former member of the Board of Selectmen.
Hi, I'm Laura Burns, and as Dan just said, I served on the Hingham Board of Selectmen from 2007 to 2013, at the time when we were negotiating the first license with Verizon, and my signature is on the bottom of that license agreement. And after I stepped down from the Board of Selectmen, where I was deeply involved in getting the HCAM nonprofit started and arranging for the money to start flowing to create HCAM, shortly after I stepped down from the board, the board invited me to serve on the HCAM board, where I have been for the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm astonished at what we've been able to accomplish from where we began prior to the beginning of this license. What we had for what was considered local cable access was a studio which we did not control, to which we would physically bring the media with the meetings of the Board of Selectmen on them and drop them off. And that was what cable local access meant before the Verizon license was signed. And with the Verizon license and our renegotiating of our other license in town, we started on a new path of developing our own cable television studio, like so many other towns have had, and I think we may be one of the newest, I don't know, in the state. And you've heard a lot of testimony already about how we've been able to sink roots into Hingham and help flowers bloom. And there will be more, but the point that I would like to make after watching this whole process from beginning to end is that at the moment when, about 5 years ago, when we finally got rolling with all 3 channels and had what we needed, you've heard that we've developed a readership, and people, I was amazed at how many people would come up to me on the street and say, I saw you on television. Because the reason it's amazing is because that exact moment when we went on the air was the moment when the great migration began, and viewers, like a herd of stampeding buffaloes, headed to the 500s on Verizon and never returned to the double digits. So that, of course, is where we live. HCAM is in the double digits. And you might ask, how did we, how have we been able to get a grip under those circumstances? It's been difficult enough for cable access studios in other towns, which have been in existence for decades, and people know they exist. It's been hard enough for those people to deal with not having the HD content and not being able to be in the same channel area as the HD channels. Imagine now how difficult it has been for us to really get traction when viewers really don't go where we are anymore? Well, the answer is just what Michael said. It's the hyper-local content that HCAM brings that you cannot get anywhere else. That's what causes people to come down to the 90s and visit HCAM, because they need to see that content. But I have to say that it's been a tough road because of the environment that we got started in, different from many other cable stations. And I would point out that it's pretty clear that we are not operating on a level playing field. The law requires that cable access televisions be given a level playing field to operate on through our licenses with the cable companies, and we do not have that. And neither do most of the other cable television stations, but we are at a deeper disadvantage because of of not having the history with the viewers before they deserted the lower end of the cable channel spectrum for the higher channels. So I would just say that we have a deep, deep need to be able to film and broadcast in high definition, bring that hyper-local content that people are looking for into people's homes in the way that they deserve, and we need to have our channels be where all the other HD channels are, and we need to have a program that's available so that people can see what's going to be shown, just like they can, level playing field with all of the other channels on the Verizon channels. So that is what I would ask for our next license, and thank you very much for your time.
Ted. Ted here? Ted?
Don't see him.
Oh. All right. Betty Foley.
She was here, but I don't see her now.
All right, well, we're moving right along. Keith Jermyn. Here we go, there's, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Keith Jermyn, 104 Kilby Street, current Director of Veteran Services for the town of Hingham. I've prepared a written statement which I will paraphrase from and then submit for the record. But I rise in support of Hingham Community Access and Media, HCAM as we know it, and their outstanding level of work and commitment the staff has shown our department here at Town Hall. Annually, we count on HCAM staff to be present at ceremonies such as Memorial Day and Veterans Day. The staff has always been easy to work with and is always reliable and friendly. At Veteran Services, we're responsible for these events, and producing them and having them go off without a hitch sometimes isn't always possible. There's illness. Veterans can't make it. It's an aging population. Without their access to this, it's a comradeship that I can't explain, that they would no longer be able to participate in. They would be left out. Some of the other events that HCAM was able to capture for posterity's sake, if you will, Hingham Police Detective John Marquardt returning home from his service in Afghanistan. The HCAM was able to film his parade and homecoming. John was welcomed home here at Town Hall by then Hingham Police Chief Michael Perino and his fellow officers, along with residents who lined the streets. Town employees greeted him outside for a brief ceremony on his way home as he presented the police chief with a flag that he had flown over his battle station in Afghanistan. All things that wouldn't have been seen if you weren't physically here. HCAM filmed the Hingham War Memorial Tour. This televised program was a brief visit to each of Hingham's 17 war monuments. So that's 17. So we pass them every day, and I'm sure we don't know much about them. But with HCAM's help, I was able to discuss the historical significance of each memorial to the town residents that depict what these mean to our veterans, our military, the town itself, the state, and the nation. During our dedication of our POW MIA chair located in the foyer of Hingham Town Hall, HCAM did an outstanding job following the Massachusetts chapter of Rolling Thunder. That's a military motorcycle organization that traveled through the streets of Hingham leading up to the event. HCAM was able to film them starting at the Hingham shipyard, driving through town, and depicting it on the TV screen, filming the entire rally, which was both moving and memorable. The Department of Veteran Services also held training for first responders called Battle Minds. This training is significant in the fact that it provides first responders that treat veterans in an emergent event how to understand the reintegration process that these veterans face, some of who have been traumatized through war. One of our greatest achievements This past few years was the GAR Memorial Tour, which was narrated by our appointed historian, Mr. Ernie Sofis. During Hingham Heritage Days, Mr. Sofis was appointed by the trustees of GAR Hall to coordinate all events relating to the 125th anniversary of the dedication of the GAR and its Civil War significance to the town of Hingham. Mr. Sofis is present tonight and will be testifying as well with the balance of my time. This letter of support goes further than saying just thank you and a job well done to the HCAM staff. What they do for the veterans of Hingham is more than just report events. They make an impact on the community. The service they provide to our veterans who are present at the event and not present is respectful and honorable. The service provided to those who are unable to attend is invaluable. I fully support Hingham Community Access and Media in all of their efforts and hope that they are able to continue the excellent work they do in our community. Thank you. Mr. Sofis.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Keith. There's a courageous man. 6 tours of duty in the Middle East, and he's back here, and I call him a leader. He truly is a leader. He does a wonderful job with our over 1,000 veterans in this town of Hingham, and he sees that the latest commitment from the federal government and the state governments are implemented here in our town. Thank you very much for your service. I want to take just a moment to share with you what we've been able to do working together with our students at the high school, primarily. There are a number of different groups that we deal with, but we were working now with the 10th graders, and I was disappointed to see our superintendent leave because we just chatted and we're having a session in April, and she's going to join us, so that's going to be a great afternoon and morning. We have 300 10th graders walk over from Hingham High, and they spend the day with us in groups of 3 sets of about 100 persons each. And they have a remarkable time because when somebody stands up and says, I was a signal officer in Korea, and I did it for 13 months and lived in a tent, it gets their attention, and they hear what is said, and they truly, truly enjoy it and gain so much history. We have just one final thought that by the way, the veterans, and I want to mention this very clearly, it is the men and women of the town of Hingham. And just recently, we've had some women come back from Iran, Iraq, and that Middle East, and it's a mother-daughter combination, and they are absolutely wonderful. And the kids, the 10th graders, love hearing from them. But I was joyed to walk in tonight, and I see Marty Saunders here, and I have to tell you about something that we did 10 years ago together. My wife knew about it, so don't anybody get any ideas. But 10 years ago, she, who is truly an artist, she wanted to fix the lettering of the sign that says Grand Army of the Republic Memorial Hall. And the gold was easily attainable, I guess, but the red color was a special blend. To this day, it's still a secret. She's the only one that knows, but she did a great job doing that, and I want to publicly thank her again. It's a joy and a pleasure to be here, and we thank you so much for the cooperation.
Next up, we have John Marquardt.
Do we have that name? Could you, I didn't get that
was
name.
Ernie Sofis.
Okay, thanks.
16 Volunteer Road.
16 Volunteer Road. John Marquardt? No? Yes? No? All right. Moving right along.
He's on a call. He's working. He's not here right now. He's on a call.
Okay, well, that's more important. Okay. Chuck Clutz?
What about Marty
Chuck.
Saunders?
Oh, well, get
Chuck
that.
Clutz, 204 Linden Ponds Way. I'm a member of the Historic District Commission. Certainly in Hingham, one of the most important things that we're aware of, not so much the commission, but basically the built environment. And this commission that I'm a member of basically is responsible for a number of historic districts. I believe there's something like 11 in the town. And now that HCAM is on board, certainly our work is much more prone to being observed by the people in the town. In fact, I must say that I've had a number of people, relatives, colleagues, neighbors say, "Oh, we've seen you on TV." So obviously people are watching. Our mission really is to basically look at that built environment and make sure that it's cohesive with the town. A lot of what Hingham is related to the historicity of the town. We deal with a number of different periods and styles. Sometimes they're in the same district, and it's not always easy. So one of our missions is basically to educate the townspeople, not only those that come before the commission for rulings, but also get an idea of what the mission of the district commission is. So we are indebted in many ways to HCAM for helping that message get out to the townspeople and those who basically come before us as well. So thanks to HCAM as well as to the commission.
I'll get back to Marty. Marty Saunders. Marty?
Is this on, do I do from here?
We okay, Eric? Okay.
Yeah, I too am a member of the Historic District. But I lived in Hingham since 1984 or 5 and loved the town, so I didn't have to move any place very far away, like 3 miles down the road when Linden Ponds came. But now there are 1,300 people in Linden Ponds, and 80% of them have never known anything about Hingham. But now that we get HCAM on our television, people are looking at it and watching it and thinking about it all along. And they're learning about what town politics. Lots of people come from New Jersey or out in the West Coast, other places like that, and they have never had to deal with, mostly they dealt with county politics. They didn't have to deal with the local town hall and everything that's happening in Hingham. And HCAM really informs them. People are watching us and asking questions and wondering, what's the historic district? They move to town and they think it's really beautiful, but they don't know how we save it, or at least try to save it. So it's an important thing, and people talk to us all the time about, well, we saw you at that historic district meeting, and what does this mean, and what does that mean? And HCAM really does this. They can watch the selectmen's meetings, all of the planning board meetings, and it's really vital to bring a whole new group of people who've moved into town and bring them up to date on what's going on in town. So thank you very much.
Next on my list, Eva Marx.
Good evening. I'm Eva Marx, 205 Linden Ponds Way. And Marty stole a little bit of my thunder, but not all of it. I've been at Linden Ponds for about 4 years, and before that, I lived on Crow Point for 50 years, so I'm a longtime Hingham resident. And the basis of what I'm talking about is that I'm a firm believer in the importance of well-informed citizens to sustain a democratic society. And that's what I think that HCAM really contributes to. I'm also a longtime member of the League of Women Voters, which is right now sponsoring a warrant review right upstairs. And even as I speak, it's being recorded for HCAM for future broadcasts. So that's a piece of what's very important. And I'm also a member of the Linden Ponds Political Interest Committee, which aims to encourage Linden Ponds resident participation in Hingham town government by providing information about town elections and town meetings. And HCAM has been one of the most important tools for keeping citizens informed. It gives access to people who, for one reason or another, can't or won't attend meetings in person. Perhaps they can't drive at night, or they're caregivers, or simply prefer to watch a meeting from the comfort of their home. I became accustomed to watching HCAM when I lived on Crow Point. And then when I moved to Linden Ponds in 2012, I was disappointed because there was no access to HCAM government channel at that time. And I was a caregiver at that time myself, and it was difficult for me to get out to meetings, and especially at night. So I had been accustomed to watching selectmen's meetings from home and was very disappointed again when I wasn't able to continue to do that. So consequently, when Linden Ponds changed providers, I was able once again to watch selectmen's meetings and other committee meetings from my apartment. So as Marty pointed out, most Linden Ponds residents lived in communities other than Hingham before moving to Linden Ponds, and a disturbing number of them don't consider themselves Hingham residents. So as a matter of fact, this morning I was at a committee meeting where we were talking about that and saying that participants really seem to live or our residents seem to live in a bit of a bubble sometimes. And so we see HCAM as a tool to change that perspective. So I'd want to thank you all for the wonderful service that you provide, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak to it.
On my list, I have Geri Duff, Hingham History.
Geri Duff, 37 Bradley Park Drive. I'm one of the town's all-volunteer people. I volunteer with Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Historical Society, Bear Cove Fire Museum, and, among other things. And I have done volunteer work with HCAM. They gave me the chance to talk about the 4th of July parade, which I liked. And they also helped the Bear Cove Fire Museum by doing a piece on them. It brought the Fire Museum into the homes of people who would not normally go there, some because they cannot physically get there, and some because they didn't know we existed. Now that they know we exist, our visitor count has gone up. We bring in children through the schools. They've seen us on TV. Hey, Mom, Dad, can we go there and see what's going on? Some of the kids get ideas for school projects. And then I work with the Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts. They've all had their little visits to HCAM offices, and hopefully they will grow up to be like Michael Page. I'm a big supporter. And another thing, I talk to so many different types of people that they call me up and say, what channel is that on now? I get a lot of that. And I do get did you see it on TV last night, what they were talking about? I get a lot of that. It's a valuable piece of the town. It's pulling together the old people, I'm an old people, and it's pulling in the new people, because nothing is more important than the diversity of the town, which is what HCAM is doing for us. Thank you.
And our very own Sky Thaxter.
Oh, you have me on there? I didn't prepare any speech, but I didn't think about it. I've been involved with HCAM since I started working in the Hingham Public Schools in 1985, and 87 I was asked to be on the committee. And I've seen things grown from obviously a very focus when the high school was renovated in 2000. We finally got a TV studio. We were able to train kids in a real life situation and to put programs on the television. But in hearing people here talk, I realized how more robust and how many more things are going on than there were previous to our own HCAM. They really, if we look back through those annual reports and compare them to what exists today, and I listened to many of those annual reports, it's huge what everybody has been talking about here tonight, about what is on public television, on government television, on educational television. In the days prior to that, it was just the staff at the high school and the kids at the high school providing sports, providing silly entertaining programs, educational programs onto local cable. Other than that, you had to stick a fire under Comcast to get them to do anything other than the 4th of July parade, graduation, and town meeting, and selectmen's meetings. So it was a very narrow focus. And so HCAM has just opened up opportunities for people to learn and grow, and also to get all these programs on television that bring the community together, as several people have said. And, you know, and I could go on with a long list of people other than Michael Page who are out there today working in broadcast television who have either been involved in HCAM, well, Eric is one of them, either been involved in HCAM or in Hingham HHS TV at the high school. And I just think it's a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful thing. I mean, Dot Galo, my God, she's become a TV star. She was pretty quiet in the days when I was there. Now she's got her own program. So see where things go.
And continuing with our committee, John Rice.
I'm John Rice. I'm at 12 Lafayette Avenue. I'm a professional television producer. And I wanted to speak about the need and reiterate what Laura was talking about before about why we need HD assignments for our cable service at Verizon as well as Comcast. I think most people realize that I think we've seen some statistics, but probably at this point, 95% of the people here in Hingham have HD, and they're grazing on the HD channels. That's where they live, and that's where they stay. They very rarely go down to channels way down on the dial, and so we're really missing a lot of our viewership that we potentially can have. And I think it's reasonable to expect that Verizon provide us with parity and that equity that you eloquently talked about. I think that one of the other things that I'd like to point out is that 100% of the HCAM equipment is really HD ready. We're ready to go with the HD. Our committee has been involved in helping support the funding for HCAM, and everything we've approved has been HD ready, and it's sort of a shame to be able to shoot it in that and never see it in that. I mean, that's the key. I also think that as a television producer myself, if I'm working on a public access show, I'm intending myself to have my programming in HD. I don't want it in SD. I shot it with that in mind, and I think that it's fair to those artists who are, or the communities that are, and the organizations that are using HCAM to expect that, to have their work seen in the format that it was shot in. I think that we need to talk a little bit about the precedent. One of the things that we've talked about on our committee is that there aren't that many communities around the country that have got public access, either public educational government channels in HD, and that's changing. I recently saw a study that sort of suggested there are 10 communities now in Massachusetts that have HD provided by one of their cable providers, and some of them are different. For instance, Comcast has a system in Longmeadow that has been turned on. RCN has many systems in everything from Waltham, Stoneham, Newton, Needham, Natick, Lexington, Framingham, Burlington, Brookline. All of these towns have HD. Hingham doesn't. We need to have it. And then I'd like to make one last point, which is that ultimately I think for Verizon, even though I think that the channel assignments, I understand, is a profit-making situation for them. They give it to a national cable programming service who has to pay them pennies per subscriber for the privilege to be on that air. They don't want to give that up lightly. I understand that. They're in business, and we can appreciate that. But what cost of the cord cutting that's going to go on right now for people who are say, look, I want this nice exclusive content that is the only place where I can get it, where I want to see my government. It's a value to them that we put this programming on. Local can be everything. Some people, that's what they want. They don't just want to watch HBO. They want to be able to see their local programming. And so it's actually, I think, in their best interest from an economic point of view to provide public, what they call PEG, public and education and government channels, in HD. So, the world has transitioned to HD. I think it's time for these cable companies to let us see our programming in HD.
Thanks. And that's the end of our list. Go ahead, Eric. Did Jim? Jim. Okay.
Steve Dearth from the Hingham Police Department.
Sure. Yep.
Didn't recognize you without your
Yeah, we didn't know who you were.
We need a uniform here.
That's right.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Dearth. I'm the sergeant with the Hingham Police Department, and one of my duties there is the public information officer. So that includes public information and also running our social media. So we all know social media is one of the best ways we can communicate, but it's not our only way. So as a police department, one of our main goals is communication and transparency. And we communicate in many ways, but one of them is through HCAM, local programming on TV. So our messages and what we do, we communicate through social media. We also use local radio, such as in Marshfield, and newsprint, because all of those have some valuable people. Not everybody's on social media. Not everybody is on government access TV. And then there's many segment, believe it or not, that still is in the print media. So our goal is to try to reach and stay in contact with as many people as we can. So with HCAM, Eric reached out to us when he took over, and reached out and sought us out, and that was huge back then. So that's the connection that we made with HCAM. And I'm just going to speak real brief just on how it connects with the police department, how we benefit from HCAM. The main thing is their assistance. When we don't have a budget, we don't have equipment to make videos. Obviously, anyone can shoot a short video, but to make a video that we need people, and we don't have the people to do that, and the equipment, and they have the staff. Whenever they ask or we ask, you don't feel like you're bothering them. They're accessible, and that's a big thing too. When you contact them, all their staff, and I mean this in all sincerity, they're motivated, they're enthusiastic about what they do. So that gives us more likely to come back and take advantage of the services that they offer. So that's huge for us to be able to do it and access their equipment and services and their expertise. Many times I've called them and they've helped me, walk me through something that I don't have the expertise on. Even on social media, they've helped me out. So that's huge. The other part is coverage. One of our biggest events that we run as a police department for community event is the Family Fun Day, held out behind the police station here. So that's a huge event for us. We have a small budget in the police budget to run that. Most of it is donations. And all of the officers and their other people volunteer. So we want to cover that because we want to show people a different side of the police department, and we want to give back. So HCAM every year comes out and they film stuff that we don't see, or we don't have the people to see because we're busy helping run that family event. So that's a huge event. So every year they come out and they give us a great, give people that don't get to be there a great idea of exposure to that. And the other simple thing, which is important to us, is their bulletin board. When the community bulletin board, when we do a public event such as a click or a ticket event, or when we do our drunk driving grants, public safety events that we do, as you all know, they'll run that up there, and that gets a segment of the population that isn't on social media, that may not read the newspaper, that didn't listen to the radio. And when that first came about, their format is so easy on their website. They give you the template of how to make that exact to fit, so you can design it your own way. It's simple, easy. So I can't say enough about HCAM and the relationship that we have. And the only thing I would add, and just as a quick side note, in police work, it's a lot of anti-police, not support in this country. We've always benefited from a great supportive community here. But with HCAM, when we get our messages out, it doesn't just stay in Hingham with YouTube and everything else. It goes beyond that. So it helps other places and it helps us beyond Hingham. So it's really, we've had a great relationship. So I thank you, and I thank the HCAM staff for what they do, and we'll continue to work with them as much as they'll have us. Lastly, one of our goals for 2015 on social media, Chief Olson and I were talking, is to increase the video content, because photos are great, but video is where it's at. People want to see video. So you may be seeing a police car more down at HCAM in the parking lot. So thank you very much for
I like the tour of the police station.
Perino.
With Chief Perino, right.
Yeah, with
Chief
Perino,
exactly, right.
Update now.
Right. Well, it hasn't changed a lot, but it hasn't, so Chief Olson just took over, as you know, from Deputy Chief to Chief. He's actually in another meeting in Town Hall. We passed by each other, otherwise he'd be here as well, or in place of me. So I appreciate the time, and just as I leave, kudos to the two students here from Hingham High School for coming up, speaking, and saying a piece. That's awesome. Takes a lot to do that, so, thank you.
Thank you. We have one more comment from John.
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot to add one thing that, to the discussion about HD. There's, Verizon has 3 systems that are sort of small systems that have converted completely to HD, so I think
That
it's...
have what?
They have 3 systems, 3 communities that have HD that they have turned over to. So there is precedence now for Verizon to give local communities HD. They're small communities called the Bronx, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. So I think they could maybe find our little 27,000 or 22,000.
Verizon is doing PEG?
Verizon's doing 3 PEG access channels. And
HD in your...
Yeah, in those 3 communities.
Okay.
Or cities, as it were.
Say something about this.
Thank you.
What?
I want to say
And the vice chair wants to say something.
Yes, I'm not used to coming to meetings. David just took over. After 6 years as chair of this committee, I decided that was enough. Enough of everybody to have to deal with me as well as everything else. We need young blood. I live at Linden Ponds, 204 Linden Ponds Way. But I want to say that I really appreciate the students and former students coming tonight to talk about how important the TV production classes and the TV facilities at the high school have been to them in developing themselves and their careers. Because every year we have to make a decision: do we continue to fund the high school video production class that we started? We actually started funding this as soon as we started getting money way back, right after the Verizon and the new Comcast licenses were entered into. And those of us, well, some of us on the committee have children, but I don't think they're high school children at this point. But theoretically, we said to ourselves, it's really important to get the students into this TV production because they're the future of television. And every year we say that same thing, but it's really helpful to me to see actual students that my theory that this was happening is actually true. And so I'm really happy that we were able to use some of the funds that we get from the cable companies. And you'll see them on your bill. It's usually just a few cents. It's not very much money, but I've forgotten what they call it, license or something. They make up some name they put on their franchise fee or something. And so when people think about what they're paying for and that little bit that's on their cable bill, they're paying for this future generation, and I'm so pleased to be a part of that.
Yeah, I just had one other thing to mention in terms of the educational that I left out. A big thing that sort of happened after we negotiated license with Verizon and Comcast and I had retired was that we recently funded a position, Phil, back here, to cover all the elementary schools and the middle school and to help out with the whole thing. So we actually have an HCAM staff in addition to the high school staff and students covering everything that's going on in the schools, and it's been a huge, it's just, everybody feels like they're getting a piece of the pie, and Eric's placed and Phil have placed equipment in every single school so that and trained the teachers to do some of the filming too. And I apologize for leaving that out because it is a very important add-on to this whole thing.
That's the end of my formal list. Is there any other people who want to?
Questions?
Well, we're going to do, and then any other people want to do some testimony? Going once, going twice. On my agenda, I have any questions that we can answer or try to answer? Oh, we just baffled them with. Okay, well then, that concludes the Ascertainment Committee hearing. We will entertain additional testimony, et cetera, for another 3 weeks at least. Just send them to me, David Jones, at Town Hall, and we'll make sure they get into the record. And we'll be following up with, Bill, do you want to give us what our next steps are?
Right. Well, even beyond the continuing the record being open for this hearing, we're in the stage of renewal of identifying needs that goes well beyond that 3-week period. It's called the ascertainment phase of renewal, where we ascertain the community's cable-related needs and interests with respect to the schools, the educational access, the governmental access, the public access, the municipal and school building interconnections or institutional networking. So the needs inquiries, doing our homework will be going on for a while, several months and beyond, because then the Comcast renewal window opens up in a year or so. So my main point is that there's the committee's door is open to further information and comments. We have an open door. We want more information into the future to build up the record, because we're going to compile all this. So before anyone sits down with Verizon or Comcast to negotiate, we want to have a formal, detailed, compelling report. So the door's open for further information.
Now, all the committee meetings or open meetings are posted, agenda, et cetera, so we're very transparent, to put it mildly. So yeah, if you want more information, et cetera, feel free to get on our agenda, and we will discuss same. That concludes our proceedings. Thanks for everyone for their testimony. Thank you.